Good morning, welcome to Marty's Bench. Today we're putting together Vice Squad kits and have come up with a little bit of a challenge. We're going to tie a split case emerger, and the challenge is in getting everything placed right before you pull it together, but it sure looks sharp when you get it done. This is kind of a hybrid of some patterns I've been watching and admiring. The split case PMD, and I decided to put a copper John abdomen on this one. So if you're tying a PMD, you want it to be a size 14 or even smaller, but you can adapt this concept to any size from small baitus up to green drakes. It is a mayfly pattern. We're going to use 70 denier thread. UTC is what I prefer for this one. And I'm going to start my thread in the middle of the hook to remind myself of how important it is to save that front half for the complicated part. Our tail is going to be partridge. This is one of my partridge feathers. It's a little big for a soft hackle, but it's too pretty, too finely speckled to just throw away or leave in the bag. So I'm going to pull out a bundle of a half a dozen or so and set it up so the tail is the length of the hook shank or less. And I'm going to wrap back until I'm somewhere between the barb and the point. I want to stay up on the flat part of the hook. Straight part of the hook, excuse me. Now, my wire is a brassy sized UTC wire. You can use copper. Copper brown looks really good. This one is somewhere in between. I don't think it's a UTC wire, but it's brassy size. I'll tie this in on your side of the hook. And if you need to, touch it once in a while to keep it on your side as you wrap forward. Fairly snug, and certainly with even turns. The smoother that body is, the better your wrapped wire abdomen will look. Now I'm going to fold that wire forward and crease it just a little bit so that my first turn behaves. Wrap forward. There, that nice smooth underbody's resulted in a nice smooth abdomen. Now, it will be a little bit easier if I build a ramp of thread to account for the difference in diameters here. There, now it's about the same size or same diameter as the copper wire wraps, because our wing case is in two parts since it's going to be split. We're using a goose biot. Using the partridge let us escape the evil biot tails that people struggle with, but we still have a biot in here for the wing case. Now I'm going to tie this in kind of on my side, but still towards the top. And we'll place the other biot on the far side. And wrap that right back to where the copper ends. Now you see how those are separated. What's going to happen is when we fold the foam over, those biots are going to cover the edges of the foam. This is 1 millimeter foam. 0.5 millimeter razor foam would be easier to use. This is what I have for us. Got to come back a couple more turns so that those are all even. And ideally, those biots, one biot is going to sit under each edge of that foam. Now, to dub the abdomen, use whatever dubbing you like. Sticking with brown on this one, and I happen to have some squirrel fur shaved off of some zonker strips when I was done tying leeches. Take a look underneath, make sure you got all the thread wraps covered. Now we're going to tie in legs before we go forward. There's tiny little tips of those biots we'll trim. Go back to your partridge. You should be able to get several flies out of one of these feathers. I'm going to stroke a bundle to the side until the tips are relatively even. Peel them away. And those are my legs. Now, you can take a bundle and tie them in on each side individually, but I've got a little technique here. I'm going to stick them on top and make a couple of wraps right behind the eye, and then reach up here with my thumbnail and wiggle it, and then that will separate them. Wrap the thread back against the dubbing ball, and now you got legs on each side. Now when I fold this foam over, I want to stretch it a little bit. It helps if you know how much you can stretch it before it breaks, because you want to kind of test it a little bit. There's our emerging wing. Now I'm going to fold a biot forward. Let's get that thread right up next to the foam. Do that on the far side. Build a little bit of a head. Head cement would be a good idea on this one. Trim those close. Part copper john, part split case, so I'll call it an emerging john. How's that? You can see the mayfly in it, and it's got a unique little, not a hot point, but kind of a hot point that actually imitates the color of a PMD's wings and abdomen when they first emerge. Nice little fly for the Thompson.